Welcome to a special edition of S&P 500 analysis. Today is March 29, 2021. Something happened in the market today that warned me to do this special edition of S&P 500 analysis to let you be aware of what happened today so you can take appropriate action. Remember in the last video, I have said based on my interpretation of the Dow theory, I'm expecting the Dow Jones Industrial to make another new closing high. Today, the Dow Jones Industrial made another closing high, and in today's high, it is what I call it an unconfirmed high. This has implication of a potential reversal. Looking at this index chart here, we see the New York Stock Exchange Composite closed down. The Dow Jones Transportation closed down. The S&P 500 closed down. The NASDAQ 100 closed down. The NASDAQ Composite closed down. The Russell 2000 closed down. But the Dow Jones Industrial closed higher. And not only it closed up, but it closed with a new closing high. So you might ask, what is wrong with that? Isn't that a good thing for the Dow Jones Industrial? My answer is no. It is not a good thing for the market as a whole. Now let's go take a look at the 15-minute intraday chart on the S&P 500. As you can see, the S&P 500 opened on a down note. And then just about an hour before noon hour, the market put the S&P 500 put in a low of the day. Then it started coming back up, and during the afternoon hour, there's actually a couple times that it actually went positive and even went to put in a new intraday all-time high before it pulled back and then closed with a loss of 3.45 points or 0.09%. And as you can see from this up-down volume ratio here, we see that it's been negative throughout the entire session, and most of the time it's sitting about -2 or more. So there's actually 2 times more down volume than up volume. And also the advanced decline, you see the advanced decline been negative throughout the entire session as well. In other words, there were more declining issue than advancing issue, and it was at least 1,000 more declining issue than the advancing issue throughout the session. And looking at this sentiment chart, you see that the VIX came back up into the 20, just slightly above the 20 level. And also the put call ratio did come down a little bit away from the 0.75, but it's still up at the 0.6 level. And here just kind of reiterate the up-down volume ratio was negative, and also the advanced decline was negative. It finished the day at minus 1,179. So 1,179 more declining issue than advancing issues. Although we did see 189 new 52-week high over new 52-week low. And on the New York Stock Exchange cumulative AD line, that's where it showed that the weakness is starting to come in a little bit. So we have to be prepared for that. And if you look at this divergence here, you see here, it is making a lower high as the last Friday, remember last Friday, S&P 500 closed at a closing high, a new closing high, with the cumulative AD line closing away from its high. Today, we get that confirmation of a negative divergence as we see that the advanced decline kind of pivoted down. We also see in the NASDAQ market, the up-down volume ratio was negative 2.1, and also the advanced decline, the decliner led the advancer by more than 2,000 issues. The NASDAQ market also has 54 more new 52-week high than new 52-week low. But once again, the cumulative AD line in the NASDAQ market also showing a little bit sign of weakness here. Here's the low, and you notice that the low is a little bit higher. So we see a little bit of a negative divergence from the accumulative AD line versus the NASDAQ 100 as well. Here's a tweet that I put out about an hour before the market closed. I said need to see the Dow Jones Transportation to go green. And here's another tweet that I put out a little bit over 15 minutes before the market closed. I said if tranny doesn't close green, with Dow Jones Industrial close higher, there will be an unconfirmed high. So we saw an unconfirmed high from the Dow Jones from the Dow Jones Industrial. And I also note the internals are negative. Remember, we saw the up-down volume ratio was negative, and also the advanced decline was negative. And also say, watch how the E-mini S&P 500 closed because it have put in a poor high. And also reference to the Globex all-time high that is still need to be resolved. Then just shortly after the market closed, we saw that unconfirmed high from Dow Jones Industrial. I tweeted this out to say, be defensive. Now let's just quickly take a look at the indexes here on the S&P 500 on a daily chart here. We see that finished with a little bit of a spinning top doji. And we'll be watching this trend line here to see would it be able to hold this trend line the coming day. And if it's not, it's a kind of pullback continue. Pay attention to this 3870. Although, the E-mini S&P 500 Globex all-time high still seems to be indicating that we will likely see a higher high from the, or a new closing high from the S&P 500. But, there is always that possibility this time it might fail us. So we have to keep that in mind for that possibility. But although it's still pointing toward that direction that we could see a new high, but it could be after it has pulled back and correct itself, or maybe come down and test this 3784, or it might even come down to this 3270 before it makes its way back up. And then that is the time when that Globex all-time high from the E-mini S&P 500 will get resolved. So we don't know that right now, right? But based on what we've seen from today's price action, we need to put on our defensive shield just to be prepared for some sort of a pullback, maybe down to the 8 to 10% level. And here on the NASDAQ came off from the 12,780, and it came back up and tried to work itself up to this 13,000. We're not sure we're going to get there right now or not, but it also printed a spinning top doji. So again, we're going to be watching this 12,786 area, and then possibly these two levels down here, 12,439 and the 12,204. So we might see a pullback if the market decide to pull back a little bit more and give everybody realign. Then we could see these levels in the coming days or coming week. And here on the Russell, we see the Russell is already booked below this 2194. So right now, that 2195 area. So right now, we kind of keep an eye on this level here at the 2975. And the Dow Jones Transportation did put in an intraday high, but it was unable to close at a new closing high, and you see that it kind of pulled back. Now, it doesn't mean that it could not do it again tomorrow. It could come sneak back up and close with a new closing high. Then it will confirm the Dow Jones Industrial once again. Then we are off to the races again, right? But right now, we have to be a little bit more cautious and kind of look for the possibility of this pullback down to the 14,242 area, and might even come down and test this level down here at the 13,656. And here's the Dow Jones Industrial. You see that it came up to this trend line here on the upper channel. So right now it came up and put in a new all-time high on an intraday basis, and also closed with a new closing high. So again, we're going to see would it be coming back, dip below, take out the previous high, which is here, this pivot point here, because it booked that on Friday and then have a continuation today. So what we're going to see is it going to come back down and get back into this channel and possibly work itself down to this 32,000 area, near this trend line here. and see would that provide some sort of support, or would it go lower? So time will tell. Right now, we just put in a defensive shield, right? And be a little bit defensive. So I'm not saying that the market is going to crash, right? But we have to be prepared for a little bit more than this 3 to 5% correction. We might see an 8 to 10% correction. Now, here's a tweet that I put out last night on the ES, the E-mini S&P 500. I tweeted out this market profile chart, and I also said that pay attention to the single prints, these single prints up here, and also the all-time, Globex all-time high. Then I also say pay attention to the poor low and also the single prints below. Okay, so I tweeted that out last night, and let's go and take a look at what happened today. Okay, here is the market profile chart. Today, this is the profile from today's price action. You see this right here, the single print, they got filled. Right? Now, it did not come up to this all-time high, this Globex all-time high, and that's the level that we're still watching for the E-mini S&P 500 to come up and tag this level. And when it come up to tag this level, then the S&P 500 will likely also come up and put in a new all-time high. But right now, we're saying that with the unconfirmed closing high from the Dow and also some of the divergences, that we suspect that we might see a pullback. So it could pull back and resolve this poor low and fill in some of these single print, and maybe even come down and tag the point of control, all these unfinished business below the current level. Maybe it will pull back to that 8 to 10%. Then next time the future come up, the E-mini S&P 500 future make its bounce, then it will come up and tag this all-time Globex high, and that's when we see another new closing high or all-time intraday high from the S&P 500. Also, you can see there is a poor high from today. So tomorrow, it could come up and tag this poor high and get it resolved. And who knows, it might come up and actually go up and tag that Globex all-time high. And then we'll see where the market will take us next, right? So there are a lot of things that could happen. It's just that right now, we just basically look at what has transpired today and take some little bit of a defensive measure, or at least be prepared to take some defensive measure if the market decides to pull back a little bit more than a couple percent. So right now, we still have one thing that kind of tells us that this upward move might not be completely over. If the Globex all-time high continue to perform as it has in the past, then we should still be on the lookout for a possible all-time high from the S&P 500. Now, it's not an infallible sort of indication, right? Just because it hasn't been wrong yet doesn't mean that it can't. So we always have to be aware of that possibility that this time it could fail on us. And with the other information that we have, other price action that we are looking at that tell us to be on the lookout for possible pullback, then we have to be a little bit more defensive based on this market message. So I hope you find this video to be informative. I'm not trying to scare anybody, just trying to keep everybody informed and be prepared for what could, all right? Not saying that it will, it's just a possibility, all right? So be sure to smash that thumbs up, help me promote and share this video. Thank you for watching and stay safe.